So through the remainder of this training, we are going to be discussing something called the Sdlc, the Software Development Lifecycle. This is going to be a process that will help you to approach the design, implementation, and maintaining of the mobile applications and its services that you are going to be providing. We're going to begin with step 1 of the Sdlc, which is where we are going to gather the requirements and analyze them so that we can develop a plan for how we are going to proceed with this mobile application. The first phase of the Sdlc is, without a doubt, the most important one. Now, some people will say, well, no, programming, the code, that's the most important. Without that, you don't have an application. Some people will even say design, because without design, how do you even know what you are programming for? These are good arguments. However, if we don't even know what it is that we are programming or designing for, we don't know what we're doing, what we are focusing on, what we are developing for, the goals and milestones that we are going to reach. That is all established in phase 1. That's why it is, without a doubt, the most critical part of the Sdlc. What we have during this is usually something called a kickoff meeting. All of the various stakeholders or representatives of those stakeholders will come together in a meeting, maybe several, to discuss how it is that the application should be designed and what considerations should be given when we are going to proceed with that. Through this collaboration, we are able to pull together a scope, a set of requirements, and those earlier mentioned milestones that help define when we have achieved success with our mobile application and what path we are going to take to get there. Now, you should, in your organization, have what's called a service catalog, which is nothing more than a list of all of the different services that your entity provides to different businesses, citizens, or other government entities. And what you want to do is look at them and evaluate two things. First, how much demand is there for this service? And second, how easy would it be to turn this into a mobile service? Now, once you have those determined, you can put them together into something that's called a Quadrant Chart, which simply plots the amount of demand in one direction and the ease of making it a mobile service in another. Through this Quadrant Chart, when we rank the different applications and services that we provide, we come up with a clear-cut quadrant of these are the services that we should focus on mobilizing first, because they'll be very much used and very easy to implement. Now, sometimes there are some other considerations that we need to take when we are deciding on this. And I want you to keep in mind something that the TRA has suggested that you do. And the first is that you not try to mobilize everything. Don't do everything at once. Again, pick the best services that you find for implementing into a mobile service. Don't do them all, because frankly, some of them are not going to be able to translate into a mobile service. Also consider that of the various different people you can target, if you can, try targeting the citizens first. Maybe you provide services to other government entities or businesses, but if there is a service you provide to the citizens of a country, try to focus on that first. Not only are you going to have a high visibility for your service, you'll get a higher return on your investment through marketing and awareness of your government entity and the services that you provide. Finally, consider that of the various steps that you could achieve in customer service, strive to achieve the first two. The first one is as simple as just providing information. Could be as simple as a website. The second is actually interacting with the people who are using your service. And that is nothing more than just someone sending you information. It could be scheduling an appointment. That's simple. Back and forth, very simple to achieve this. Now, other considerations to use is, how are we going to decide on what application type? Are we going to use a native? Are we going to use an HTML5, SMS? We also should have a look at what are going to be the different constraints with regard to how often does the application need to be updated. Also, how much time do we have to develop the mobile application? Now, we have some guidelines here as regard to how many months it takes to develop something. These are just ballpark figures, rough estimates. You could very well find someone who is able to develop a native application in a significantly shorter amount of time. Also consider, what is the current device market share? We talked about that earlier. If you are going to go the native route, you might want to be aware of how many different users there are of each application platform before you start building for an application. Finally, what is the level of service simplicity? If you are providing something that is very simple, you might not need to develop a native application. That can be very complex and time-consuming. Maybe you can find a way to deliver that service in the form of an SMS. Consider your options, consider them all, and establish what it is you are going to do in phase 1 of the Sdlc. Here finally is a table of some considerations to help you evaluate your options and decide on what you are going to do when deciding between a native, HTML5, or hybrid application. If you need anything on here, you should be looking at these as opposed to an SMS. However, if it is so simple that just a simple back and forth SMS exchange can achieve your service goals, you should be looking at delivering that instead.